What is going on, everybody, and welcome to the start of my brand new wrestling channel. Now, by the time you guys watch this video, I've already uploaded a couple of shorts here and there, blind ranking wrestlers. I saw these all over TikTok and I was like, I want to give this a chance. I've been a massive wrestling fan for years, and I've also been doing videos for other types of content, but I thought I'd like to share my love for wrestling as well, just like every other wrestling YouTube channel has already done. So I kind of want to be part of that gravy train. So hello everybody, I go by Renzio on this channel, so that's what we're going to be doing here. You're going to be seeing a lot of shorts from this channel, as well as some pretty good long form video content. My face isn't going to be showing on most of them, as I like doing it post-production, so you'll be seeing more edited stuff as I talk about different topics in wrestling. So this introduction video, is going to be pasted on top of an AEW factions ranking from pretty much ever since AEW started, because AEW hasn't been that long. But what we're going to do is we are going to tier rank every single faction that has appeared in AEW. So we're just going to rank them based on how they've done in AEW. Some of them have done better in other promotions, of course, but we are strictly just basing it off of AEW. I will be doing it also for WWE within the different decades, just because I can't really tier rank every single faction in WWE in one video. I can't even do it for AEW, and AEW has only been around for like 6 months. So just sit back, relax. Hope you guys enjoy this video, and subscribe to the channel if you guys want to see more related wrestling content. Of course, you can wait till the end once you've seen the entirety of this video, so you guys know what you're up to. I also have friends around that do like wrestling as well, so I am going to be doing a bit of some collab content with my friends here who are big wrestling fans as well. And other than that, I'm going to send you guys off, and I'll see you all later. Factions. Don't we love them? Clearly AEW does, and that's why I'm making this video. Today we'll be tier listing every AEW faction that has ever existed since the start of AEW. Hello everyone, my name is Renzio, and I am starting up this channel dedicated to all things wrestling. It will be predominantly WWE and AEW, but I will be featuring tidbits of other promotions here down the line. I grew up watching wrestling in the mid-2000s, so the information I get from the 90s or earlier comes from what I've read and watched from others. So feel free to correct me on some details I point out in those times if they're inaccurate or missing information. What will I be doing here? I'll be honest, I have no idea yet. Any topics of video ideas I get or copy from, it will be covered on this channel, so it'll be quite a ride. So subscribe if you want to be part of it. AEW has a clear love for factions, and when I was making this list, I was surprised by how long the list actually is, considering AEW has only been around for 5 years. Of course, I understand that most of these factions are iterations of them that exist outside of AEW, but we will be ranking the versions of them that have appeared in AEW and how they were received or booked during their time there. Keep in mind that I will not cover every single faction in this video. That would be way too long. I will cover these in 2 parts. If I missed any teams after the 2 videos have been released, then leave a comment down below and I will comment my ranking of them. Now, let's begin. The Inner Circle. This is one of the first factions that was created when AEW started. It consisted of Chris Jericho, Santana and Ortiz, Jake Hager, and Sammy Guevara. I think this was one of the best groups in AEW because even though the casual fan would have only known Chris Jericho and Jake Hager to a lesser extent, they did a pretty good job of elevating a young Sammy Guevara to make a name for himself down the line, and to increase the popularity of Santana and Ortiz. With all the stars they have feuded with, and even the angle with MJF and Wardlow being added, the Inner Circle left quite an impact on the early days of AEW, even popularizing the Stadium Stampede match, and thus is being put in S tier. Then later down the line, the group was slightly reformed into the Jericho Appreciation Society, with pretty much the lesser known stars being replaced by other stars, such as in Angelo Parker and Matt Menard replacing Santana and Ortiz, and Sammy Guevara being replaced by Daniel Garcia, as well as the addition of Anna JAS. Now, of course, I feel like because this group was nearly an imitation of the Inner Circle, with mostly the angle now being put more of a spotlight on Jericho, there were still some interesting angles within the group, with Jake Hager liking his hat, the entertaining ways of Angelo Parker, and the transition from wrestler to sports entertainer of Daniel Garcia by the fans. I think the fact that the Inner Circle's success just predated this faction kind of killed its aura a little bit. Not to mention the downfall of JAS was due to the betrayal of Sammy Guevara, which more fits a personal rivalry between himself and Jericho, which is why I am ranking them considerably lower at a B. The Dark Order, the legacy of the late Mr. Brody Lee. Rest in peace. When I first heard of the Dark Order, I was quite terrified of them to start, but as we saw their personality shine a bit more, I started to like them. My personal favorite will always be the banter between Alex Reynolds, John Silver, and Adam Cole when he came to AEW. Budge will always be my favorite Adam Cole nickname, as well as the segment where the Dark Order was eating dinner and Mr. Brody Lee exposed Vince's hatred of sneezing by showing his overreaction. But even in the ring they were good, with the angle of Brody Lee convincing Hangman Adam Page to join the group, which he eventually did, with Dark Order even helping him during his rivalry with the Elite, but it was unfortunately after the passing, but I would have loved to see that possibility between the two. I think the Dark Order were on the cusp of something big, but unfortunately they have not been featured as much in recent years, with the group mainly consisting of Evil Uno, John Silver, and Alex Reynolds. I will still put them at an A, out of respect for Mr. Brody Lee and their initial success as a group. Now this is where it gets interesting, because we are now covering a more recent group in AEW, the Learning Tree, yet another Chris Jericho-led faction. This time, he leads Big Bill and Brian Keith in a faction where he teaches them skills and advice, but does so in a very obnoxious way. Even more so when their rivals, mainly Hook, attempt to stop them. In fact, this group was created because of the rivalry between Jericho and Hook, where the former attempted to convince Hook to join him in his journey, with Hook refusing, and the two end up wrestling for the FTW Championship, which Jericho won and renamed it as the For the World title. I think this group is gonna be placed D because they're new and we haven't seen the overall run of this group, but they aren't F because I have enjoyed Chris Jericho's obnoxious way of teaching as well as some of their segments which I have found funny. But of course, without an in-ring booking or major rivalries yet, it is hard to place them higher. The Undisputed Kingdom. Well, what can I say about this? This is one of the many variations of an Adam Cole-led faction, and honestly, well, Adam Cole being injured and the fact that this faction has pretty much been put on the back burner because of it has not done it any favors, so this should definitely go F. But I thought about the genesis of this creation, and it's the reason why I'm putting it in D is because the group was formed when Adam Cole cost MJF not only the Ring of Honor tag team titles, but also the AEW world title when Samoa Joe made a deal with the devil, and his stablemates being revealed as Roderick Strong, Matt Taven, Mike Bennett, and Wardlow, MJF's former bodyguard, which was quite a story ender to MJF's world title run. But ever since then, all we've gotten is a failed world title shot by Wardlow and an international title run by Strong, which didn't really amount to much, plus a couple of tag team wins by Taven and Bennett. If it wasn't for how it started, it would have been placed in F immediately. This one is interesting. So the Pinnacle is a faction that was created after MJF turned his back on the Inner Circle and revealed his mates to be Wardlow, Shawn Spears, FTR, and Tully Blanchard for a bit. FTR and Wardlow already had their shticks in AEW, but I think this faction did well in helping to hype Shawn Spears as the chairman over. He already gained this nickname after slamming Cody with an unprotected chair shot, but the shenanigans MJF and Shawn Spears would undertake during their time was pretty entertaining, and even after Wardlow turning babyface. With a good rivalry with the Inner Circle, the Pinnacle was making waves in AEW, having some up-and-coming names along with a manager who was in the Four Horsemen, and the group would climax in Wardlow's ultimate betrayal of MJF becoming a strong babyface. Unfortunately, because the Pinnacle did not last as long as I would have liked, not to mention Wardlow's gradual decrease of screen time and momentum in the following months, I have to put the Pinnacle at C. The Factory. No, I'm not talking about the Nightmare Factory. I am talking about the splinter group that was created by QT Marshall in the early days of AEW. This group consisted of QT Marshall, Nick Comoroto, Aaron Solo, and Anthony Ogogo. I'll be honest, I love these names. These are very cool sounding names. Unfortunately, they didn't achieve too much as a faction apart from pretty much being cannon fodder to up and rising stars and debuting stars from other promotions, like Paul White. So I'm gonna have to give the Factory a D ranking for this. Cool names though. Now, by the time this video was recorded, Pac just recently joined the Blackpool Combat Club and Bryan Danielson had just nearly been obliterated. So I will be doing the Blackpool Combat Club that consists of Bryan Danielson, Jon Moxley, Wheeler Yuta, Claudio Castagnoli, and it will also include the time that they had William Regal. With Regal at their back, this group was set to be a real badass team. Even before the Danielson betrayal, it was already badass. Wheeler Yuta, who was just part of the Best Friends faction, really did a good job integrating himself with three really massive stars in AEW, and really proved himself. Another thing I liked about the group was even though they are a faction, they have their own individual rivalries that they have dealt with on their own, or in different groups, and not let the name of the group overshadow the individual. With all those in mind, as well as how strong they are throughout their tenure, I am giving them an A. I feel like that opportunity to have Regal play more of a role was possibly the factor that prevented me from giving them the S rank. When I saw the baddies, this was what seemed to be like the most stereotypical faction composition ever, but the women in this faction just made it really cool. This faction consisted of Red Velvet, Kiera Hogan, and Jade Cargill. The idea that Velvet and Hogan would be the sidekicks slash henchwomen to the dominant Jade Cargill really increased their aura as a dominant woman in AEW, already going along with her dominant run as the TBS champion. Even when Red Velvet tried to stand up to Jade Cargill, the champion was just too dominant. The angle, alongside with their glamorous entrances throughout their tenure, earns them the B ranking on this list. Oh, what could have been. Honestly, when I first heard of this merging, I thought we were gonna have our first major babyface faction in a while. The hype around this pairing of the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn, as well as the latter's sons and Jay White of the Gun Club to make the Acclaimed Gun Club supergroup would have made major impact in AEW. Even if the Gun Club remained using heel tactics to combat the baby-faced Acclaimed, I think it would have made some very funny angles. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see that at all, as they only lasted for a few weeks before the Bang Bang Gang turned on the Acclaimed amidst the return of Juice Robinson. We never got to see what could have been. Because of their super short time together and really was just more to maintain the rivalry between the two groups, I have to give this an F. Well, this group was, well, something. In fact, I don't even know what to call this group because I don't recall if they even had one. I am talking about the grouping of Jay Lethal, Sanjay Dutt, and Satnam Singh. In all honesty, I think this is the most interesting group of superstars ever, which is funny because I always thought the group I would think would be the most interesting would have Smart Mark Sterling on it. Anyway, this group also had the support of Jeff Jarrett, but I feel like apart from some minor rivalries here and there and some decent matches, they didn't really leave much of an impact on AEW and were just another faction, I suppose. So for that, I'm going to rank them a D. The Jurassic Express, the group consisting of Jungle Boy Jack Perry, Luchasaurus, and Marco Stunt. I think there's a bit of a pattern here. I have ranked a lot of the older groups higher because of how well they were represented in the early days of AEW, but it feels like their value has gradually decreased since then. Anyway, with the popularity of Tarzan Boy to Jungle Boy's youth and charisma, balanced with Luchasaurus' power and Marco Stunt, I thought the group was pretty entertaining, culminating to tag team title wins at AEW. Of course, the arrival of Christian Cage effectively ended the Jurassic Express as Jungle Boy was shifting through a character change, but regardless, their run together was good, which earns them the B spot. The last group I will cover in this video will be the Don Callis family. Honestly, Don Callis has this aura that everyone wants to despise, and I love it. Unfortunately, outside of Konosuke Takeshita, who has been a great heel, no other members of the faction has gotten as much love outside of a couple appearances here and there. Of course, I am focusing mostly on AEW. Maybe once I get more accustomed to the other promotions that exist, I will be approaching these kinds of videos from different perspectives. But other members such as Powerhouse Hobbs, Kyle Fletcher, Roosh, and Trent Beretta have felt underwhelming under Don Callis' banner, so for the time being, I will rank them at D. Honestly, right now, the name, which sounds very cool, as well as the antics of Callis and Takeshita are why I'm not ranking them an F. And that will do for part 1. Are you agreeing with my list so far? Let me know what changes you would make below and keep an eye out for part 2 later down the line with teams you are probably fuming about why I didn't add. If you guys enjoyed, please subscribe to the channel so you guys can see more wrestling content from myself. Keep an eye on the shorts that are coming out daily. And other than that, this is Renzio signing out, and that is all.